Hey guys, welcome to Conversations with a Recovering Loan Officer. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, Nick Carpenter, founder of the Legion of Loan Officers. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes. And he was so kind to offer to come on our podcast today and chat with us about how he's helping loan officers market their business, build their business. And he's got some really unique kind of ninja tactics that we just talked about for, outsourcing, for creating value in your market locally, and lots of other stuff. So I'm super excited to chat with you. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Talk to me a little bit about your background. Give me your history so our listeners have an understanding of where you came from, and then tell us about where you are now.
I grew up as a Navy brat. My dad was in the supply department, and so that's my whole life growing up. I just watched him and all his Navy buddies have this really cool camaraderie. I remember we actually lived, when I was in high school, we lived in California, and in Mountain View, California, which is where Google, is based out of. And so it was this really interesting mix of people of, a lot of money and stuff, and then military kids, and obviously, other, poor people around and stuff too. But, I just got to watch my dad have this awesome camaraderie with his Navy friends. And especially on the base there, the old Navy guys had this thing called the Go Locker, which is where the chiefs all hang out together. And, especially within there, right, when there's not a lot of subordinates around and stuff, it was just really awesome. And probably seeing that is what led me to join the Air Force coming out of high school. My dad basically told me, he wasn't paying for college. So I had to figure it out, either get a job, or he just recommended going in the military. And so that's what I decided to do. I went in the Air Force. I was security forces in the Air Force, and went to Saudi Arabia a couple of times, went to Iraq, and ultimately got out in 2005. And I had bought my first house in the Air Force when I was going to North Carolina. And it was just an awesome experience buying the house. It was so fun. We actually built a house, and it was just fun, man. And so when I was getting out, I decided to get my real estate license. So I ended up moving to Texas, where my parents were, and was a realtor for a few years. But I was actually really kind of bad at being a realtor. I'd take some buyers out over the weekend. They didn't buy a house, and I would just get mad, and just not talk to them anymore. And so it just wasn't a good way to have a business. But I got really good at the marketing side. We were just generating a ton of leads. And so I just built a referral business. Instead of taking the buyers and sellers myself, I just was taking a referral fee. And ultimately, I ended up going to Keller Williams and working on staff for Keller Williams and teaching some classes and stuff there. And we had an in-house lender, and, the lady was like, hey, our corporate office is trying to find somebody like you. And so ultimately that's, I made the switch to the mortgage side in 2011, and I helped a mortgage company in Dallas build a marketing team there from scratch. And that's really from 2011. I ended up leaving there in 2014. That time is where I figured out, like, you can almost teach loan officers real estate marketing. And now they have so much extra knowledge and concepts they can bring to realtors. It's just looking for a way to make them valuable. But yeah, man, when I left, just looking to spread my wings and do my own thing. And yeah, if you remember that scene in Lion King when the little cubs, they go to that elephant graveyard and it's like super dark and scary.
Yep.
Well, that was like what my life was like in 2015, 2016, it was, man, it was tough times, man. I got to be honest. And, but also, I was just trying to figure out like who I was, what's my value to the world, how do I get people to pay me, and I was just doing all kind of random stuff. And then 2017, I created a Legion of Loan Officers, really out of just searching for that same camaraderie that I had been missing from the Air Force. And, I decided to just build a group and just have somewhere that could occur, since I just didn't see it existing in the space. And so, yeah, just been, focused on Legion ever since then, and, have a couple of other, little businesses that serve loan officers and stuff today. But yeah, man, so when I'm not, playing Nerf Wars or playing Fortnite with my son, then I'm usually just helping loan officers, attract realtors and, kind of grow their business and do their thing now.
Yeah, I saw your Nerf gun cave. A picture of that. You got 3 walls covered up, and I was like, yeah, that I've been there. I had the same thing in my house, and my kids grew out of that, and they moved on to, unfortunately, more expensive hobbies. Although Nerf, it can be really expensive. And so, yeah, that's pretty cool. I remember the first time I met you. I don't know if you remember when you met me at first, but I met you at God, it must have been at like an AIM event in 2018.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I think you were just getting started, and you were just like moving and shaking, trying to meet people and I was just like, who is this guy? And you had that beard, and I'd never heard of you before. And I'm like, it's easy to dismiss people when, you never met them and they look different than you do. And they're out there hustling. And, man, I see stuff from you all the time now. So I've been super impressed with the group you built with the Legion of Loan Officers. I hear a lot of great things about the people that join. So I'm excited to talk to you about all of that stuff today.
I appreciate that.
And so you came from the dark side of real estate and found out that you weren't necessarily a great salesperson. You're more of a marketer. Who did you like take your inspiration from earlier? Like, where were you learning your marketing tactics?
Well, interestingly enough, when I was in the Air Force, man, this was like in the late 90s, early 2000s. There was this trend. I've always been into hip hop and kind of that side of fashion and trends. And with shoes, there was some time where there was a lot of these fake shoes that were around. They were like Gucci printed Air Force Ones and, Timberlands. And, they would take the Nike Air Force Ones and put like a Louis Vuitton swoosh on it and stuff like that. And, I was seeing these different videos with like the big timers and, these different rap artists and stuff that were wearing that kind of stuff. And, obviously me, I'm like poor airman in the Air Force. I definitely can't buy that if it's real. So I started looking around, and I originally found a pair of those shoes on eBay for like $130. And so I bought them there, and I kept looking around. I was like, man, there's just like, there's got to be a better way. These aren't even real shoes. And ended up finding like a Chinese supplier that had them for like $30 or $35 a pair. I built a website, and I was basically selling these shoes to people. Truth is, I don't even know how people were getting to the website. Like, when I think back on it, like, how did these people even find my site? I have no idea, other than that somehow the SEO was just working in my favor. I don't know. Like, I wasn't smart enough when I look back now. I was just dumb enough to, like, keep pushing forward and figure it out, So I actually got decent at the marketing, like building websites and some of that kind of stuff. Even when I was in the Air Force was when I, was like, had my first e-commerce website. But in real estate, the first technology that ever really made a big difference for me was called ProQuest Technologies. And it was like recorded information lines. They're still around today, right? So in my case, I would put an ad in a magazine that was at the local grocery stores that people would pick up on their way out of the grocery store. And it would be a full page, and it would say, call 1-800 blah, blah, blah to get information about any of these houses and punch in the code. And each house, instead of having a price, would just have a code. So it'd be like code 77541. So you would call a number. When you punch the code in, it would start giving you recorded information and immediately send me the lead. And so we were getting like 400 leads a month or something off of these little magazine ads. I mean, it was crazy. And so, that's even just like early on, I was just figuring out some of these different marketing things that worked well. And that's really where, was like the thing that was enjoyable for me, or was like really fun, was like figuring out the marketing side. Like, how do we get people to reach out to us versus us having to reach out to them? And, and just that stuff. Cause I was never into the cold calling and always looking for something better than that, is like, how do we create enough inbound leads to never have to worry about the cold calling? So even just really early on, I was just always into the figuring out the marketing, and just, going to events and investing in myself and having different, buying different courses and things like that. Yeah, I remember the very first real estate event I ever went to was a Craig Proctor event.
Oh yeah, I remember Craig.
Yeah. And that was back when they were doing the, your house sold in 14 days or we'll buy it, guaranteed, that kind of stuff. And man, just always like learning little things and just throwing it out there, and seeing what would work. So yeah, I mean, it's just like, the marketing thing is just so super fun to me.
Yeah. How did that work? It was like you had established a buy price in advance, and then, like if you weren't able to list and sell it for more, then they would buy it. Is that? Yeah.
Yeah, basically, yeah, they would agree up front to whatever the price would be. Usually it'd be like, let's say 75 cents on the dollar or something like that. And they would typically have different investors that would already be set up to, be able to purchase it that way. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely a genius offer. I mean, I know a couple of agents still today that build their whole business off of a Craig Proctor website that told people, I'll sell your house or I'll buy it guaranteed, kind of stuff.
So you said the term offer. That's a marketing term, right?
An offer.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess, yeah. Basically it would be like, I mean, it, yeah, I mean, anything is an offer, I mean, everything is an offer for throwing out, right? For loan officers, we make offers around, different products that we have or, all kind of stuff, right? Anything that's like, if I'm trying to get you to do something, it's going to benefit my business. I mean, I think ultimately, like, yeah, those are all offers. And the better you can get at making offers, the better you're going to be at sales, right? Because it's all kind of like, it's different if I'm just trying to talk to you or if I'm trying to influence you to do something. Like, those two things are different. And, like, if I'm trying to influence you with my words, with writing, that's copywriting, and yeah, just like sometimes that stuff, people are really amazing loan officers, but like, they don't know the first thing about like writing words that sell stuff,
Yeah.
And
it's a very
all
different,
goes together.
it's a very different skill. Yeah. And I'm just like, I remember I'm looking at your website here, and any good sales site or business website has some sort of offer,
Yeah, for sure.
I noticed
Websites, right? Most mortgage websites have an offer for get this checklist or get this PDF or, opt in for this information, right? It's like realtors offering the CMA or list of homes, right? Like, these are all offers in our industries.
do you combine offers with guarantees? Is that kind of how that works?
You can, right? So like in the case of that Craig Proctor one, right? If you go, hey, your house sold in 21 days guaranteed, or I'll buy it, right? Like, I mean, I have a guarantee in my business, where it's like, hey, if you don't, if my program doesn't work for you, I'll refund you and cut you a check for $2,500, right? Just for trying it. I mean, so sometimes, having guarantees, obviously for some people is good, right? Some people just really want a guarantee, like depending on their personality type.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I mean, and if especially if it's a win-win, like it's a no-lose situation with the Craig Proctor deal. I mean, somebody's going to come in there, if they have to buy the house, it's going to already be a good deal. There's going to be some money to be made on the back end of the house. And, but then also with, like on my side, with mine, the way I set it up is just like, there's no way that people can meet the criteria required for the guarantee, like do the things, come to these support calls and stuff, and it actually not work, right? Like, it's just impossible. And so I can just already have that confidence to know, like, hey, if you just do the stuff because you're like, oh, I'm getting this guarantee, and so you commit to doing all the stuff required, it's impossible to fail. That's just the truth.
Well, the guarantee is tied to a result too, right? So you're saying basically like, here's the checklist things you have to do, because you've worked with hundreds of loan officers through the process of doing these activities, that based on this, the results are going to be in this like skew, like from here to here, but not here, not below the threshold if they do that. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that really is a great way of just expressing the confidence you have in your product and what you bring to the table. I'm wondering if loan officers are doing much of that, today with their business, and maybe I'm not even sure if it's really allowed, from a...
You see it a little bit. Only thing I can so some examples would be, like I've seen one where it's, we guarantee you close on time, or we pay you X amount of dollars per day, it doesn't close. Right? Or that is a delay.
Yeah, like a per diem or something.
Like that creates confidence in people when, the scary thing for them is, I'm not going to have two mortgages or whatever the situation is going to be and stuff. And so if you just can alleviate those stresses by everyone, well, hey, if they mess up, at least we're going to make some extra money, then, that can, it's not for every personality type, but if you look at the DISC, I mean, according to DISC, there's only basically 4 personality types, right? So, if it satisfies one, maybe you just increase your odds with 25% of the population of getting their business because they look for something like that.
Yeah, and that actually reminds me, I read a quote from your website that said there are enough people who will do business with your way that you don't need the ones who won't. So what do you mean?
Yeah, so that quote, I did an event with Benchmark Mortgage in 2013, and we rented a big like mansion chalet. They call it a chalet, I think is the term for it, in Breckenridge, Colorado. And we had about maybe 15 loan officers come, and we called them up and comers. They were people that had a lot of potential but still had room to grow. And Jim McMahon, he was one of the first people in the mortgage industry to close $1 billion. And he just, he's always just been around. He was the president of Benchmark, and he was there on the trip. And that was one of the things that he told people was, man, there's enough people who will do business your way that you don't need the ones who won't. And it's just one of those phrases that I have just built my business off of. I'm definitely not for everybody. And that's fine, right? That's fine. I don't have to be for everybody. There's plenty of people that are going to just do what I want them to do and listen and comply with my stuff. And so I think it's something that a lot of times loan officers are afraid of being authentic because you always hear this idea of like being quote unquote referable, right? I want to be referable, but it's like, yo, if you're not getting business from them now, like they're not referring you. You're not referable today, or if you were, you would get the business. And so you can't, there's nothing to lose from zero. So, a lot of times, but there's something to gain by being who you are, because that's going to be attractive to some percentage of the people. Even if it's not attractive to some people, it's going to, it's like a push-pull marketing. And so I'm 100% for push-pull marketing. And I think, Jim, it was like an early quote that just one of those like core memory moments for me of hearing that and being like, man, that's even true for me, right? Which is ultimately why I left that corporate environment, because I just wasn't getting to be who I wanted to be, and do the things I wanted to do in that there as well. And I was like, yeah, that's true for me too. There's enough people who are going to do business my way that I don't need people who don't want to do it my way. And, I just think it's a quote that anybody can run their business by today, and not worry about like offending some percentage, because you're going to, whoever you offend, you're probably pulling closer to you more people than you offend, in any time. So I'm just never something I'm worried about.
Or at least, if not more, at least the right kinds.
Yeah.
And you don't need even 1% of the people, there's hundreds of millions of people in the, in the United States. So I completely agree with that. I've been telling loan officers that for, 15 years myself. And it's like, after I left Countrywide, I vowed never to wear a suit again. I'm like, I'm never touching a suit again, ever. So like, I'll go to my conferences in jeans and like a t-shirt, and it's like, I don't care. I'm showing up the way I want to live, and the people who accept me are going to be my people.
Yeah, for sure.
And
how many times have you actually had to wear a suit since then?
0.
Oh, okay. Well, that's impressive then.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to get married here soon, but that's a tux.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm gonna let that one slide.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I've worn slacks and like a button down, but I've not put a tie on.
Nice.
So I think that was.
I'm with that. Yeah. I'm totally against wearing a tie for sure.
Yeah. Yep. If I can wear a hoodie, I will. A hoodie with shorts. So, you also heavily leverage testimonials on your website. And I love testimonials. Like, I'm a massive advocate for collecting reviews, testimonials, shameless plug. I built a software to help handle this, right? So Apex Reviews, you can look .io, because that's all the rage. Check it out if you have a chance. But testimonials is a great conversion tool. So why do you use it so much? Like, is that, talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think probably the same thing. It's that anything somebody else says about me is always going to hold more weight than something I say about myself. Somebody else validating who I am or what I did for them, how it was working with me, like I call it the Amazon effect because I really blame Amazon for it. They're the ones that got people used to this whole trusting other people thing, where you'd go there and you would see the reviews and the people, the photo reviews and the video reviews and what they actually bought and how it ranks in the list of vacuums or whatever the thing is, right? And all of a sudden we're like just completely trusting strangers to make the decision for us because we're like, well, if everybody else thought this is number one, must be number one,
Yeah.
you know? And so with that in mind is like, well, I can do the same thing in my business. I can create the same perception. I mean, obviously in my mind it's true, but there's also great other options. I mean, I'm not the only great option that exists in this space. I mean, you know, there's other ones that it would be foolish of me to say nobody else is good, right? And so, but I have to create enough belief in people to get them to do something. And one of the ways to do it is if they can see me or hear about me and they go do research and all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, here's 100 people on Google saying he's good and here's 50 people on YouTube saying it. And, you know, now it validates what they were already thinking. And that's ultimately what we want to have happen, you know, whether that's my business or your business or anybody listening, you know, is if somebody shares your information with a person that's a potential client for you and they go to Google and they look you up or YouTube or wherever, and they're able to validate that you're real and helping people and other people say you're great, now you're at least one step closer to getting them to actually contact you, you know, if not make the decision to work with you. And so, you know, yeah, I think, yeah, nothing I say about myself is going to ever hold the same weight as what somebody else says about me. And, you know, so the more I try to put that in front of people, because not everybody's a researcher, you know, sometimes you got to put the research in front of them and go, hey, I don't know if you saw how great I am over here on this other website, but just thought I'd show it to you here on Facebook, just in case, you know? And so, yeah, it just gives you fodder for ads and stuff too, which is always good.
And not every, especially loan officers, are not very good at collecting reviews or testimonials, you know? For sure. It's like the social proof is like the most powerful marketing tool, in my opinion, there is. And so it definitely should be leveraged. And so, yeah, I appreciated your website because you're preaching, you're doing what you preach, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. So talk to me about the Legion loan officers. Like, who is a good candidate for you? What kind of loan officers are you looking for? Who gets the most out of your program? You know, like you said, you're not everybody's cup of tea. So you have an avatar loan officer. Who is that?
For sure. Well, yeah, so interesting. My avatar, his name is Greg, is my avatar, right? Which I don't necessarily want to like dive into everything about Greg, but like I've really dialed him in. And it's more of an exercise in knowing who I'm trying to target. Because in general, again, like when somebody comes to me and I go, well, who do you really love to work with? Like, describe your perfect realtor. And they go, well, it might be a man or a woman or it might this and that. And like, they just don't know. People have no idea.
Yep.
And so that's like step one is who do you actually serve really well, right? So for me, as a general statement, my, you know, best performing clients have typically been either somebody who is retail and wants to switch to broker at some point, but maybe they're getting some leads provided or they have some support or they need to just like, you know, they're trying to figure out how to be more sustaining and self-generating. But really people whose backs are against a wall is like who who do the best for me, because I need, you know, somebody who gives me their last, you know, few $1,000s in their savings account or whatever, like that person is going to absolutely crush because they're going to do the work. Right. And sometimes people who already have a ton of money, they don't necessarily aren't interested in doing the work, which is why, you know, I created the mortgage cabal at some point, is because I'm like, okay, how about you just pay me more and do less, you know, and then, you know, so that's for the next level of person. But with the Legion, you know, I'm great for somebody who's invested in a program in the past that taught them to cold call realtors as the only or primary strategy of winning, because I don't do that. And, you know, I just like, you know, vehemently plant my flag as anti-cold call, and I'm way more into the attraction model. So as a general thing, you know, I'm helping married men, you know, I mean, obviously we've got some females in the group as well, but, you know, I'm primarily attracting dudes like me, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
like it's interesting how, I mean, I've been kind of shrinking a little. Now I'm only an XL kind of guy versus a 2X guy that I've been a long time. And, but for the longest time, I attracted a ton of 2X and 3X people, right? Because oftentimes like attracts like, you know, and so, but I don't usually like to take on a brand new loan officer because I need somebody who's already good at doing the loans. You know, I'm going to create a lot more opportunity, but I'm not going to teach you anything about loans. I don't even know how to do a loan. I don't have an NMLS. I've never pulled a credit report. I've never put a file together. I don't even know exactly what that means, to be perfectly honest. But I'm good at creating opportunity, you know, at like giving keys to open doors. And so if you need more at-bats, more realtor partners, more opportunities with leads, like I'm good at creating that stuff. So, but if people come to a loan officer and, you know, the back end falls apart and the loan doesn't close on time, like nothing I did is going to ever matter. And, you know, so somebody that already knows how to close loans, probably already doing some business, you know, and just doesn't feel like they're actually proud of their level of success yet, or they're not feeling accomplished, you know, at what they're doing. They're like, man, I just know like this is not what I'm, you know, like where I'm supposed to be, you know, and yeah, those are the people that's really the best. The reason I brought up about the retail piece is so many of them, and today we have about a mix of around 60% retail, 40% mortgage broker. But so many people have like been retail and then eventually switched over, right? I'm not like team either side. I don't really care. Brokers are better at telling people brokers are better, but otherwise, like,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, anybody can be great, right? I mean,
Right.
they all have their positives, but it is interesting how a lot of people eventually they get to feeling so independent that they go, well, I can just have my own shop and do this and, you know, feed these leads to loan officers or whatever the thing is. And they either end up opening their own company or, you know, switching to a broker shop where they have a little more freedom in terms of marketing sometimes, not as much oversight, you know, some of those kind of things. But yeah, somebody who's doing, you know, three to five loans a month, a couple loans a month, and they're just like, man, if I could just add another 2, 3, 5 deals a month, like that would just change everything for me, right? And we could just, you know, kind of put that in place over the course of 6 weeks or so.
That's awesome. So yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense that you've got the people who have no option other than to like basically get out of the business or you know, dig in and get their, you know, elbows dirty.
For sure.
And so, yeah, that makes, and then so for those people you said that don't fit that because they're on the too successful side, like maybe they're not going to do the work, you have a program for them as well called the Mortgage Cabal. What is that?
So the Mortgage Cabal is market exclusive. So I only take one person per area on that so that, you know, there's just whatever we're doing in the collaboration that we have together is only happening for that one person. So there's not anybody else competing on that. The Mortgage Cabal, I call it the world's best mortgage marketing assistant. And it's essentially a team of virtual assistants that are going to do a bunch of stuff for you. You know, so we're doing some things on a daily basis, like sending out birthday messages and adding friends and growing a private realtor group and some of that kind of stuff that we manage every day. On a monthly basis, we're doing a couple classes every month, some couple workshops, and, you know, we bring in some speakers and then we do some more hands-on type of workshops with the realtors, and we just manage all of that stuff. So, you know, as a local loan officer, you can go, hey, I've got this guy, Nick Carpenter. He's going to be doing a workshop this week on YouTube. You know, we're going to show you how to take over a neighborhood on YouTube. If you want to come to the workshop, just jump in my group and, you know, and so that's kind of how, and we're just doing all the back end of managing that machine. And then the last part of it is that we have an ads manager. So, you know, she will just run your ads for you and help you with the lead generation and some of the retargeting and that stuff. So it's really a full service, almost an agency offer, but mixed with there's just a lot of done for you pieces that we take on. And, you know, we just keep looking at is there something missing? You know, is there another values add that we can pull in, you know? But just it's a lot of almost like small, what feel like mundane things to loan officers that just don't get accomplished. But, you know, it's like the birthday videos and sending new friend requests and all these little things that just keep growing their network and growing their authority. And, like you said, we just want people to see them around everywhere. And so we just kind of make sure that happens.
That's huge, right? Because those little tasks get forgotten all the time. And so you're running, so it's essentially like a contract marketing department with, not a personal assistant, but like a marketing assistant. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's kind of a way to describe it. Because on the team we have video editors and content creators, and we have graphics designers and a couple of other people that just do all the social media management. And so it's a full team that is all in communication with each other, right? So you have one point of contact for things that need to get done, but then a full team working for you for what ultimately would be less than hiring one mediocre person in your office. You can just have an entire team that's just managing it all, plus the classes and that stuff that I'm personally doing, and I'm bringing all my friends in to help, with. So you can it's sometimes there's a lot of value in attaching yourself to big names, right? You see it in the mortgage space today. People do it with Rene Rodriguez and Barry Habib and these kind of people, right, that are awesome. And it's why people want to attach themselves to them. And in real estate, there's a lot of the same type of people.
Yeah, so, Tom Ferry and
like Tom Ferry, or Ben Kinney is who we had this month, and he owns Place.com and Brivity.com and all these things that realtors all know and love. And so we brought Ben in as our speaker, and now you get to go, hey, everybody, I'm bringing Ben Kinney in as my special guest this month. And everybody's like, what? Ben Kinney? Right? And now you get to attach yourself to somebody they respect and know, and it increases your authority through that whole idea of like the triangle of trust, so just managing. That machine is awesome. For anybody that's doing a couple million a month or more, it's the return on investment is definitely there. And, but it's not usually for somebody that's more in a starting position or whatever, because it's a little bit higher, a little bit higher ticket.
Unless you really want your back to be against the wall and like forced to be successful, right? Sometimes you got to invest in your business to
that's true for sure.
Yeah.
And, and also what I did was I went out and got approved with a coaching financing company that this is like car financing. You go to my website, not on my like public site, but you go to our little link that we have or whatever. And, it's like you just fill in some information, and it's so simple, man. As long as people have a 620 credit score and they can prove that they make like $40,000 a year or something tiny, then, they can get financing, and they'll get offers from different banks and, different options in terms of how long it is. And truth is, the rates kind of suck. But what's cool about it is, instead of paying, X amount of few thousands of dollars out of pocket, if you just don't have it, you go get financing on a $300 monthly payment, and you just pay a couple monthly payments out of pocket, get your first deal. Most people, they just follow my system. They're at least under contract on their first deal within the first 45 days. And cash in checks, in the first couple months, right? So you're only out of pocket less than $1,000, and then you just go pay it off, right? With that first check you got from what I'm going to show people how to do. So that's been pretty cool, like getting that set up.
Yeah, that's like a firm basically, like for your legion of loan officers. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's just a guy that does like from, let's say 5,000 to 50,000. They finance that range of offers. So it works for both programs.
That's cool. So you mentioned to me, when you were talking pre-interview, you'd mentioned that you're really super pumped about a certain type of marketing today, live events. I'm really curious to know what that's about, because most of the marketing gurus here, it's like all online, Google, Facebook ads, all this, So why are you so pumped up about live events?
Yeah, live events is, I think, the best use of time for a loan officer, right? For a lot of reasons. Interestingly enough, I want to grab this book because there's a book that I've read a couple of times now called The Game, right? Have you ever heard of this book right here? It's from a guy named Neil Strauss.
No, I know Neil. I never read The Game though.
Okay, so this is like the original pickup artist book. Okay, if you're familiar with being a pickup artist, there was a whole VH1 show about it and stuff like that, with a guy named Mystery. And the truth is that just about everything they teach in pickup artistry is also applicable to a male loan officer picking up female realtors, which is like the industry standard, right? Industry standard is like, loan officers are men, realtors are female. Obviously, I get that, it's not always the case, right?
Sure.
Shout out my guy, Joe Brickman, killing the game in real estate, like 80 million in his first 2 years or something. It's insane.
Crushing it.
Yeah. So we have been taking so many tactics from the pickup artist industry and morphing them for mortgages into the mortgage industry because it's so applicable, right? It just is. And one of the things is, I'll give you an example. Pre-selection is one of the things they teach in pickup artistry. That you want to demonstrate pre-selection, which is why you want to have other women around and show that you know women and you have friends and, that other people are selecting you. So one of the ways you can demonstrate pre-selection in the real estate industry as a loan officer is get a bunch of them to show up at the same time. And they go, damn, man, how did Nick get 30 other realtors to show up here? Like he must be doing some awesome stuff. And we can demonstrate that without ever having to say it, right? We don't have to say all these realtors know and like us and trust us. We can just go, hey, look around. Pretty cool that we got like this whole entire room of people to show up, It's also, let's just say, for example, you could get 20 realtors to show up at a live event. Okay, so in an hour or an hour and a half, you can build some level of relationship with 20 people. Whereas if you were doing coffee meetings, that's at least 10 hours. If you're going to lunches, that's at least 20 hours time to do the same thing. And so from that, it's just a way better use of time because we can be who we want to be and be our authentic self. And some people are going to go, man, this guy is awesome, and some people are going to, at the end, are going to go, oh, this doucher, I'm never working with this guy, right? And that's fine. Like I know I'm like that at live events. Sometimes like I cuss on accident or whatever. I mean, it just happens. And, I just talk about the cannabis or stuff that's intentionally who I am, but also somewhat polarizing to people, right? Sure. So they go, oh, I'm 100% against cannabis. Well, like we're never going to be really that great of friends probably because it just like I smell like pot a lot. And live events is a way that you can just do all of this at the same time, right? You can give value, demonstrate authority, show pre-selection, all these different pieces that you can do at the same time. And then now it's like, I call it the reverse hustle funnel, which is, get people to show up at a live event first. And now like everything else just goes downhill from there where you can go, hey, maybe there's some other ways I can help you. Want to chat about that? Sure. Now you can meet them on Zoom or go meet them one-on-one and actually start, solving problems with the realtor and helping them fill gaps they have in their business. And so it just rolls a lot better downhill than uphill, which is, oh, let's meet for coffee. I can have value for you. Come to this thing I'm going to do or whatever, like a lot of people do. We can just do a reverse and the results are faster. You can get a higher conversion out of the room into referral partners. And then when you do start going to coffees or lunches and breaking bread and stuff, you're doing it with people that you already know you're going to like because you've already spent time with them in the class, probably meeting them one-on-one on a Zoom or in person already. And then, now it's cool, right? Now we're just going to build a friendship versus I'm having to like eat my pasta and plus tell you how great I am at the same time, and it's, so live events right now, as loan officers need to increase their activities and, their business in general, live events is a great way to do that because, they've got something to reach out to realtors about, which is an offer like, hey, I'm going to be doing this event. Do you want to come to it? Or is that not something you care about? Right. And then, now you're getting them at the live event and then you got the follow-up process. So it gives you a lot of touch points to build either a deeper or a real relationship period with realtors, through all these different touch points that one event can give you.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. I mean, I love that one-to-many marketing strategy, and essentially all you're doing is marketing yourself, right?
Yeah.
And they're, like you said, they're going to be selecting or moving on, and like that could have been, that's like an hour long. I remember going to a coffee. So my history is as a loan officer myself. And I remember having coffee for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes with somebody and finding out at the end they absolutely were not a model match. And just thinking to myself, this is a massive waste of time.
Yeah, for sure.
And but you earlier on were saying you don't approve of cold calling realtors. So how do you fill the room?
There's a lot of ways that you can fill the room. Obviously, be your own personal posts, different local Facebook groups, private messaging people, or like a cold call. It to me is a realtor that you don't know. But if you know a realtor, even on any level, that's not as cold of a call.
Yeah.
Especially if you're calling with an offer, right? It's more of a cold call if you're calling with an ask, like, "Hey man, how was your weekend? Any buyers for your open house you want me to hit up, or like, did you get any turn downs or something I can talk to?" Right? That's like the standard script right now. And instead, if you go, "Hey, I'm actually going to teach a class like in 2 weeks, and I'm going to show you how to take over a neighborhood on YouTube so that anybody that's looking up for this neighborhood, you're going to be the face they see and obviously the expert." Like, is that something you want an invitation to, or you don't care about that?
Is that content, that idea you just said, take over a neighborhood on Facebook? Is that one of the tactics you teach in your program?
Yeah. That's like an example of something that we teach inside the Legion.
Okay, cool.
So it's everything. I have a learn, do, teach model. So, I want you to learn how to do some stuff, do it for yourself, have some results to talk about, and then go and teach it to realtors. So that whenever you go to a realtor to host a class, if they go, "Man, how do you even know this works?" You can have the confidence to shut that down by going, "Well, I can just show you what I did. I mean, I know it works because like I'm doing it actively. Well, I can show you my, whatever the thing is, right? I can show you my results, or I can show you this ad, or whatever the thing is, the tactic is you're going to take to the people. I'm going to already have you, you should already have your own results, because we don't want this to be like some kind of MLM scam and you're like telling people how great my results were. Well, I know this guy and he got really good results, and one day I'm going to have them too, the best way you can fill a room right now is to have other people promote the class with you, right? And for you. Realtors, there's a lot of people that have networks of realtors, not just loan officers, title people, insurance agent, home inspector, an appraiser, CPA, financial planner, divorce attorneys, right? All these kind of people have networks of realtors also. A handyman. I mean, we could keep going down a list and make probably 15 or so, people. If you just get a couple of them to promote the class with you, that's the best way, because now it's the triangle of trust, right? If you don't know me, but we are common friends with Tony, the home inspector, and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm going to be at Nick's thing next week." And you go, "Oh, okay, I heard about that. Maybe I'm going to go because I know Tony's going to be there." And, as a loan officer, when I go to Tony and I talk to him about it, I'm going to go, "Hey, Tony, do you ever sponsor like realtor events?" And what do you think he's going to ask? What do you think his first question is?
How many realtors?
Yeah, or how much is it going to cost me?
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
Hey, how many people are going to be there? How does it work? What's the cost? Right? And you go, "Oh, dude, I don't even need your money. That's the greatest thing about this, right? I'm going to tell people you're a sponsor. All I need you to do is commit to getting 5 realtors to show up. Or all I need you to do is commit to getting 10 realtors to RSVP. Like, can you do that? If you can commit to that, you're the sponsor. You're the man for the home inspection side, right?"
Nice.
And so now if you're each, if you've got 2 or 3 or 4, 5 people, you and some friends, then, I call it the whale pod strategy, which is like, go build out your killer whale pod, and then y'all just go hunt realtors together. And you just do it, you just bring them all in these live events, right? Like corralling them in. And, the right people will show themselves. And so, in general, the numbers shake out to about 15% conversion. So if you have 20 realtors a month that show up at your events, you can probably realistically assume you're going to get about 3 of them to start becoming, to become referral partners with you. And also that's why you want to have other people promote the classes, is so that you constantly have new blood, right? Because if you're doing all the promo, eventually it starts to get a little stale,
Yeah.
And having some new blood every time is going to make sure that you always have a chance to bring in new partners. So that's how we're getting people to show up these days.
So you're suggesting, like, I think all loan officers would understand this concept, because we're all coached at a very young age in the industry to use other people's money. You're coaching, use other people's lists, connections, and relationships
Yeah.
and that those will turn into money, right? Because you're going to be working collaboratively to build relationships, which will drive loans. And then now you've got more money.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I
And when
love
you're in
that.
the room together, if Sally shows up and she's your friend, you go, "Hey Sally, have you met Nick yet?" "No, I haven't." "Oh, come over, you gotta meet him." And you go, "Nick, oh, this is my great friend Sally. She's the best agent in such and such a town," and whatever thing, and you're like talking Sally up, making her feel, and we just use that triangle of trust, and we just can push back and forth. So anybody that I know, I'm going to try to make sure they meet my friends in the room, my inspector, my insurance agent and stuff, my title person.
Yep.
And then same thing for them. We're just really intentional about it at the beginning of the class and at the end of class to push each other and introduce. It's like having a wingman, and it's like having a female wingman, right? Because it's already feels super safe because it's like these other people they trust it makes you way safer. So it's the same kind of concepts, right? Where, it's like if you ever try to talk to a girl and you never meet her friends and she never meets your friends, it's like, it's hard to develop trust because they're like, well, what do my friends think about you? Or what are your friends going to think about me? Or why are you hiding your friends from me? Like, what's wrong here? And so immediately you create all this like openness and trust with the realtors because you're like, you're already meeting all my friends today. This is so cool, and just by pointing all that out, again, you're demonstrating pre-selection and that you're a leader of other professionals by the fact that you got them to show up, all those things matter to get somebody to choose you.
That's awesome. I love it. So is there anything else that you'd like to leave today's listeners with that they can take away? And then also hit us with how they get in touch with you.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, today is just about action, right? Execution is the only thing that matters. Consistency gets rewarded. We're trained to not like the way we sound and look on video, and you just got to be willing to just get on there and do it anyways. And know that you get respect for the fact that you're on video and the other person is watching your video. It's just how the world works, right? We look up and respect the people that we're watching the content of. And so you want to be that person. Don't just be a secret agent and have all this amazing knowledge and then you're not really sharing it with the world. So one way that you can do that is anytime somebody asks you a question, turn that into a piece of content. Don't just answer the email. I mean, obviously answer them on email or whatever, or the text message, but then just pull your phone out real quick and just make a video. And it's like, hey, I just got this question from my client, Mike, and I figured somebody else might want this answer too. And, he was asking me about why does he have to have an escrow account and what is an escrow account? And it's a question I get so often. And, just go into that kind of stuff. Authority can be gained really simply today with the one-to-many messaging and ability that we have to reach people. And so I think just definitely take advantage of that fact that it exists right now.
I think we could have like a whole nother podcast on video marketing and CRMs and the distribution of that marketing content. So, if you're up for it, I'd love to chat with you again about all that stuff, because I think a lot of our, our market, the loan officers they're still afraid a bit of getting on camera and doing that, but it's becoming a little less, right? Because, TikTok and Instagram have sort of started to train the younger loan officers to use that selfie camera and point it at themselves. And I think it's a great way to build social proof. And like you said, one-to-many video is like evergreen, right? It's even better than one-to-many because it's one-to-many forever.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
especially on the YouTube side and some of that, where just literally I mean, I have videos that still rank number one, like after 8 years, which is just insane that if you do it the right way the first time, it can pay off for a really long time.
That's awesome. So how does a loan officer get in touch with you, get more information on, the Mortgage Cabal, if they're that super producer, or about the Legion of Loan Officers, if you guys are just getting in the door?
Yeah. So the best way really is connecting me on Facebook, Nick Carpenter, or the URL is facebook.com/NillaNick. It's my old rap name, back in the day. Wick. And so that, connect me on Facebook. On Instagram, I'm at Bearded Marketer. LegionofLoanOfficers.com. Mortgage Cabal, really, there's like, in general, no information in the public about it. And so just reach out to me about that and we can just jump on a call about it. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm on a couple platforms, but primarily just, mostly Facebook focused right now still. And, that'd just be the way that we can get to know each other and decide if we're a fit.
Love it. Now I'll put this your contact info in the show notes. So if anybody's curious, don't whip your pencil out while you're driving and get in a crash. I know you guys want to sign up. I know I would if I was still producing. Nick, you've been a great guest. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for all the awesome advice.
Yeah, thank you so much again for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. All right, take care.